Welcome back. On this section of the tape, we'll be taking releasing even further. But before we do that, or as a way to focus our releasing, think of the things that you feel like you do habitually. Like you might be a smoker, you might feel like you eat a little too much, you might be addicted to television or the movies. Some people are addicted to alcohol. There are many things that we feel addicted to or we get into a habit of doing and we try to stop. And if you've ever tried to stop doing a habit, you know it can be very difficult. And you'll notice on these tapes that we don't try to tell you what to do. We don't give you a list of new behaviors. What we do is we show you how to change from the inside out by showing you how to unhook yourself from the inner motivator that's causing you to act in ways that you later regret. So if there's a habit in your life or an addiction in your life that you're wanting to change, you're wanting to be free of, this is a very simple way of doing it. And I'll use just as an example, say you have a tendency to eat an extra dessert or dessert more than you should. What a lot of us do is we decide, oh, I'm not going to eat dessert anymore. And that may last a couple of days and then we're back eating desserts again. Well, here's another way to approach that. Rather than say, I'm never going to do it again, just make a pact with yourself that if you're interested in having a dessert, just say to yourself, look, you can have it if you want it, but release first. And the reason to release first is all habit patterns are locked in by feeling patterns. Certain feelings come up in our awareness, and the way we compensate for them is by doing this particular action. So, if you release first, you're letting go of the underlying cause or motivation for that particular habit. So to go back to that example, say you're interested in having a piece of pie. If you tell yourself you can't have it, you'll just get into a push-pull and you end up having it. Or you'll end up having it 2 days later and have 2 pieces instead of 1. So if you release first, that whatever feeling is making you feel like you need to eat it, and then you let yourself have it if you still want it, then it's easier. It's easier to get into the releasing around the habit, and you'll notice that it will drop away. And I'll give you an example of how it's worked in the past. There was a woman who had been an actress actually, so it was very important to her to be a certain weight. And she'd been trying to lose weight for like 20 years, and never really could get to what she considered her ideal weight. And she tried every diet imaginable. She exercised like a fiend. In fact, she was running so much she had destroyed her knees and couldn't run anymore. She had to find another aerobic exercise to do. And so we used to teach the course over 2 weekends. We now teach it over 1 weekend. But during that time, the instructor suggested to her that she try this little trick. Let herself eat whatever she wants as long as she releases first. So about 2 days in between the course, she went out and had the first hot fudge sundae she had had in years. But because she was releasing first, before she reached for the food that week, she lost 5 pounds in just 5 days. Within about 6 months, she had lost 20 pounds, and it's now 20 years later, I've seen her recently, and she's still her ideal weight. And so if it's possible for her, it's possible for you. And it's just very simple. Rather than trying to fix or change the habit, just make a pact with yourself that the next time you want to reach for a cigarette, the next time you want to turn on the television, the next time you want to reach for that dessert, you can do it if you still want it after you release. And you'll notice that gradually or very quickly, the habit will fall away. I've seen hundreds of people stop smoking this way. So experiment with that on your own, and you'll see that it's a very powerful way of applying the method. Now that we've discussed breaking habits and going beyond addiction, let's get into some practical application. Let's do some focused releasing on it now. This releasing we'll do together now will make it a lot easier to start incorporating releasing into your everyday life on letting go of addictions or letting go of habits. So think of a specific habit that you would like to be free of, a specific addiction. It could be to alcohol, it could be to drugs, it could be to sex, it could be to overeating, smoking, or any number of other addictions or habits that we feel stuck with. And by the way, everything we do on this tape is not meant to be a substitute for professional assistance if you need that, nor is it meant to be a substitute for an AA program if you're already in one. This is designed to just be an aid. So allow yourself to focus inside. Allow yourself to get comfortable inside. And then think of how you feel overall about your addiction or about that particular habit. Just let yourself get in touch with your overall feeling about it. And could you just allow the feeling to be here? Allow it to be welcomed. Notice what it feels like to have this addiction. Notice also how you disapprove of yourself for this recurring behavior. So focus on your now feeling about the addiction. And could you let it go? Just could you? Would you? When? Focus again on your now feeling about the addiction. See how you feel in this moment about having this addiction or habit. See how it makes you feel inside. And could you just fully allow the feeling in this moment? And now could you let it go? Would you? When? Now as you release your feeling about the addiction, the goal is to release to the point that it feels okay either way. Now I know that might seem like a stretch, but if we can release to the point where it's okay to be having this habit or addiction, as well as it's okay to let it go, we take the fight away and it becomes a lot easier to work on it. So again, focus on how you feel about the addiction. Just let yourself feel the feeling you have about that addiction or that habit. And could you let it go? Just could you? Would you? When? Take another look inside and just allow yourself to feel however you feel about the addiction or about the habit. And could you just allow the feeling, embrace it, let it be here. Could you welcome it? And then could you let it go? Now think of a specific time that the habit operated, that you did that particular behavior. Think of a time where you had that extra cookie, you reached for a drink or a cigarette, or whatever it is that you're focusing on. And see how you felt just before you did it. See if you can get in touch with the feelings that were present just before you did it. And could you allow the feelings to be here? And then could you let them go? Would you? When? Focus again on that same time where you did that particular behavior or habit. And see how you felt right before you did it. What was the feeling that was pushing you in that direction? It could have been a hunger, or an emptiness inside, or a feeling that you needed to do that particular thing. Whatever the feeling was, as best you can, let yourself experience it now. And then could you let it go? Would you? When? Now see how you felt when you actually were doing that particular behavior, when you were eating the cookie, having the drink, smoking the cigarette, or whatever it is that you're focusing on. And pay close attention to the artificial good feeling that you thought you may have been getting from doing it. The feeling that you may have been misappropriating to the activity, as well as any other feelings you had at the time. And could you just let yourself feel how you feel in this moment, while picturing yourself doing the habit, right in the action? And then could you let it go? Just could you? Would you? When? Focus on that again, the last time, that specific time, that you engaged in this particular behavior. And see what your feelings are about it now. What were the feelings that motivated you to do that? And could you just welcome those feelings into your awareness? Allow them to be here. And then could you let them go? Would you? When? Now see how you felt just after doing that particular behavior. See how you felt when you were done. See if there was any guilt or any regret or any other feeling, maybe even a disgust in yourself. Oh my God, I did it again. Remember, those are just feelings. And could you let yourself feel whatever you're feeling in the moment when you focus on having just done the habit again? And then could you let those feelings go? Could you? Would you? When? Focus again on how you feel in this moment when you think of having just done it again. And just let the feelings be here. Let whatever you're feeling in the moment be here. And then could you let it go? Just could you? Would you? When? Now this is another way that's very powerful to release on habits. Sometimes you won't catch yourself before you actually do it. You'll have done it again, and in retrospect you know you could have released first, but you didn't. And you have feelings about it. Releasing after the fact, each time you do that, you're also weakening your pull in that particular direction. And eventually, it will help you break the habit or let go of the addiction. So focus on another time where you did that particular behavior. And see how you felt just before you did it. What was the feeling that was pushing you in that direction? It may have been subtle or it may have been strong. We very often anesthetize ourselves to our feelings all the time, but specifically when we have an addictive behavior. So we might not be that in touch with the feelings. So just having a sense of it is enough to get started. The more you do this work, the more obvious it will become. So as best you can, let yourself feel what you felt like just before you did that. And then could you let it go? Could you? Would you? When? Again, allow yourself to check how you felt just before you did that thing. What was the motivating feeling? It's our patterns of feeling that create our patterns of behavior. And as you break those patterns of feeling, the patterns of behavior will drop away as well. So just let yourself feel what you're feeling in the moment when you focus on about to be doing it again. And just let yourself feel the feeling. And then could you let it go? Could you? Would you? When? Now see how you felt while you were doing it. See if there was any struggle going on. And also notice the enjoyment of the particular activity. We very often feel a sense of relief or a misappropriated sense of enjoyment when we do that particular habituated behavior. But as we let that go, we'll be able to take the enjoyment directly without having to do that behavior. Because that enjoyment or that good feeling is always available to you. And all the negative feelings are always releasable. So just let yourself feel how you felt while you were actually doing the behavior. And then could you let it go? Just could you? Would you? When? Focus on that again. That time that you actually involved in doing the behavior, in that addiction or that habit. And see how you feel about it now. Just let yourself feel you're now feeling about it. And then could you let it go? Just could you? Would you? When? Now see how you felt just after that time that you did that particular behavior. See if you were angry at yourself or disapproving of yourself or feeling out of control or whatever you were feeling in that moment. And could you do your best to become aware of that feeling now? And then could you let it go? Would you? When? Focus on that again. That last time, right after you had done the behavior. And see what your feeling is about it now. And could you allow yourself to just welcome that feeling? And then could you let it go? Would you? When? Now notice how your overall feeling has already shifted in relationship to that habit or addiction. It might even be just a small shift, or it might be a major shift. But whatever the shift is, as you continue to do this kind of releasing work on it, it will continue to shift in a positive direction. Now see how you feel about breaking the habit. There are very often a lot of residual feelings from all the other times you tried to do something about it. The time you said, I'm going to stop, and you weren't able to. So just let yourself feel how you feel in this moment about breaking the habit or letting go of the addiction. And could you just welcome that feeling into your awareness? And then could you let it go? Would you? When? Take another look inside and just allow yourself to feel however you feel right now about going beyond this addiction or this habit. And could you just allow the feeling to be here? And then could you let it go? Would you? When? Now I would suggest that you listen to this tape as often as you like. Every time that you listen to this tape, you'll get more out of it. But just as importantly, start releasing on the habit. While you're doing it, before you're doing it, after you do it. And remember this thing about making a pact with yourself. That unless you're under medical supervision otherwise, that it's okay to do it. In making it okay to do it, it will become more and more okay also not to do it.